This message is issued by the Emergency Coordination Center. Please listen closely and follow the instructions. This is not a drill. We are issuing an advisory regarding missing pets that have recently returned to their owners. Over the past 3 weeks, we have received an unusual pattern of reports from pet owners across the region. What began as isolated incidents of relief and joy has developed into something requiring your immediate attention and caution. These reports initially came through our non-emergency lines as wellness checks and noise complaints, but the pattern that has emerged demands a coordinated response. Starting on July 8th, dispatchers began receiving calls from pet owners whose dogs had returned home after extended disappearances. In most cases, these animals had been missing for days or weeks, with owners having given up hope of their return. The dogs appeared at doorsteps, in backyards, or scratching at familiar windows, seemingly healthy and eager to reunite with their families. What should have been joyful reunions, however, have consistently resulted in disturbing reports to local authorities. The first documented case came from the Riverside District. Maria Santos called to report that her golden retriever, Cooper, had returned after being missing for 2 weeks. Cooper appeared at the back door at approximately 3 in the morning, whining and pawing at the glass as he always did when he wanted inside. Mrs. Santos was overjoyed and immediately let him in, feeding him and allowing him to sleep in his usual spot at the foot of her bed. By morning, something felt wrong. Cooper's movements seemed deliberate in a way they never had before. He walked through the house with purpose, stopping to stare at specific corners and doorways for long periods. When Mrs. Santos called his name, Cooper would turn his head with perfect precision, but his tail never wagged. She noticed he no longer responded to the sound of his food being poured, something that had always sent him running. Most disturbing was how he watched her. Cooper would position himself in doorways and simply observe her activities, his head tilted at an angle that made her increasingly uncomfortable. Mrs. Santos contacted Animal Control on July 10th, concerned that Cooper might be ill. When the officer arrived, Cooper was sitting perfectly still in the center of the living room. The officer later reported that the dog's behavior was unlike anything he had encountered in 15 years of service. Cooper allowed himself to be examined without resistance, but showed no typical stress responses. His temperature was normal, his reflexes appeared intact, but something the officer described as fundamentally wrong about the animal's demeanor prompted him to recommend immediate veterinary evaluation. That evening, Mrs. Santos called emergency services. She reported that Cooper had been standing at her bedroom door for over 4 hours, completely motionless, staring at her as she tried to sleep. When she attempted to coax him away from the doorway, Cooper had emitted what she described as a sound no dog should make. A low, sustained tone that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than his throat. The following week brought similar reports from across the county. A family in Oakwood called to report their missing beagle, Rusty, had returned with an unusual gait. The children, ages 6 and 8, refused to go near Rusty and insisted he smelled wrong. Their mother initially dismissed their concerns until she noticed Rusty had begun arranging his toys in perfect geometric patterns, something far beyond normal canine behavior. When she attempted to scatter the arrangement, Rusty would methodically recreate it within minutes, never becoming frustrated or excited, simply persistent in a way that defied everything she knew about her pet's personality. Later that week, David Chen reported that his German Shepherd, Max, had returned after a month-long absence. Max appeared healthy and well-fed, but had developed disturbing new habits. Chen found Max in his kitchen at 2 in the morning, standing on his hind legs at the counter, appearing to mimic the motions of food preparation. When Chen turned on the lights, Max dropped to all fours and behaved normally, but Chen discovered muddy paw prints on the counter surface and cabinet doors slightly ajar, suggesting Max had been accessing areas of the kitchen no dog should reach. The most troubling incident occurred in the Hillcrest neighborhood. Jennifer Walsh's border collie, Scout, had been missing for 3 weeks when he appeared in her backyard. Scout had always been an energetic, vocal dog, but returned completely silent. Walsh noticed Scout would position himself at windows and watch the street with an intensity that made her neighbors uncomfortable. Several reported seeing Scout standing upright against the glass, his posture unnaturally human-like. Walsh became alarmed when she discovered Scout in her young daughter's room at midnight, sitting beside the bed in perfect stillness. Her daughter, Emma, age 5, had been having nightmares since Scout's return, claiming that Scout watches me sleep and his eyes don't blink. Walsh installed a baby monitor to observe Scout's nighttime behavior and discovered that Scout would spend hours in Emma's doorway, completely motionless, before moving to other bedrooms and repeating the behavior. When Walsh attempted to prevent Scout from entering bedrooms by closing doors, she found him the next morning somehow inside the rooms despite the doors remaining shut. Door handles showed no signs of manipulation, and Scout showed no distress at being confined or separated from areas of the house. He simply appeared where he intended to be. A couple in Riverside attempted to address their concerns more directly. When their missing Labrador, Duke, returned exhibiting similar behavioral changes, they decided to take him to their veterinarian immediately. Duke had been gone for 10 days and returned showing no signs of weight loss or distress, but had developed an unsettling habit of mimicking human conversation. When the family spoke, Duke would move his mouth silently as if trying to form words, his expression focused and deliberate. The veterinary examination revealed normal vital signs and healthy physical condition, but the veterinarian noted Duke's unusual responses to standard tests. Duke allowed all procedures without sedation or restraint, showing no normal stress responses or defensive behaviors. Most disturbing was Duke's reaction to other animals in the clinic. Every dog and cat in the waiting area became agitated in Duke's presence, whining, hissing, and attempting to hide or escape. The veterinarian, Dr. Patricia Lewis, later reported that in 20 years of practice, she had never seen such a universal fear response from animals toward another dog. When Duke's owners attempted to reclaim normal routines, the situation escalated. Duke would no longer eat from his bowl, instead waiting until the family was distracted before somehow accessing human food from sealed containers and high shelves. Security cameras they installed showed Duke simply standing beside his empty food bowl for hours, never approaching it, but household food items would disappear, and Duke showed no signs of hunger or nutritional deficiency. The breaking point came when the husband, Robert Martinez, decided to confront what he believed was simply unusual post-trauma behavior. He approached Duke with firm commands and attempted to re-establish dominance through traditional training methods. Duke's response was immediate and chilling. The dog began to mimic Martinez's exact posture and movements, maintaining direct eye contact while copying his stance and gestures with precision no animal should possess. When Martinez raised his voice, Duke opened his mouth and emitted what sounded like an attempt to replicate human speech patterns, though no recognizable words formed. Martinez later described the sound as like someone trying to talk through a dog's mouth. The couple left their home that evening and have not returned. Based on collected reports and witness testimonies, we have identified 4 distinct stages that characterize these incidents. Understanding these stages may help you recognize when immediate action is necessary. Stage 1 begins with the initial return. The animal appears healthy and eager to reunite, showing behaviors that initially seem normal and familiar. However, subtle differences become apparent within hours. The animal may respond to its name, but with mechanical precision rather than enthusiasm. Physical affection is tolerated, but not sought. Most significantly, the animal begins what can only be described as observational behavior, watching household members with sustained attention that exceeds normal pet curiosity. Stage 2 involves the development of mimicry behaviors. The returned animal begins attempting to replicate human activities and postures. This may include standing upright for extended periods, manipulating objects with unusual dexterity, or positioning itself in ways that mirror human behavior. Family routines are observed and copied with disturbing accuracy. Animals have been found attempting to use furniture as humans would, arrange objects in patterns, or access areas of homes they previously showed no interest in exploring. Stage 3 is characterized by the breakdown of normal animal responses and the development of impossible abilities. The animal stops responding to typical stimuli like food, toys, or commands. Sleep patterns become non-existent, with the animal maintaining alertness for days without signs of fatigue. Physical limitations appear to no longer apply, with reports of animals accessing secured areas, appearing in rooms with closed doors, or demonstrating strength and agility far beyond their species' capabilities. Stage 4 represents complete behavioral replacement. The animal no longer exhibits any recognizably normal pet behaviors. Instead, it demonstrates what can only be described as systematic observation and analysis of human activity. Multiple families have reported the sensation of being studied or evaluated. The animal's presence becomes a source of constant unease, and other animals in the area will actively avoid the property. If your missing pet returns, you must follow these safety protocols immediately. Do not allow the animal inside your home, regardless of weather conditions or apparent distress. Contact the Emergency Coordination Center immediately using the number provided at the end of this broadcast. Do not attempt to feed or care for the animal, as this may encourage it to remain on your property. Under no circumstances should you attempt to restrain, leash, or confine the returned animal. Multiple incidents have demonstrated that physical barriers are ineffective and may result in escalated mimicry behaviors. Do not approach the animal closely or attempt physical contact, even if it appears to be seeking affection or attention. If the animal has already been allowed inside your home, evacuate immediately with all family members. Do not attempt to remove the animal or secure your property. Simply leave and contact emergency services from a safe location. Do not return to retrieve belongings or check on the animal's status. Children seem particularly susceptible to the observational behaviors exhibited in stages 3 and 4. If children report unusual interactions with the returned pet, take their concerns seriously and implement evacuation protocols immediately. Children have consistently provided the most accurate early warnings in documented cases. The pattern of incidents has expanded beyond individual households. Animal control officers report that standard capture and containment methods have proven completely ineffective. Attempts to tranquilize these animals result in no observable effect, while the animals remain motionless during attempted capture, but somehow avoid confinement, despite showing no resistance or escape behavior. Local veterinary clinics have been advised to refuse examination of animals matching these behavioral descriptions after 3 separate incidents resulted in clinic evacuations. In each case, the presence of these animals caused extreme distress in other pets, panic among staff, and equipment malfunctions that could not be explained through normal technical failures. Law enforcement has attempted intervention in cases where families refused to evacuate their homes. Officers report that standard crowd control and animal handling procedures have no effect on these animals. Most disturbing are reports that the animals appear to be learning from each intervention attempt, with subsequent cases showing awareness of and adaptation to law enforcement tactics. The geographical spread of incidents continues to expand, with new cases reported daily across a widening area. Missing pet reports have increased by 400% over the past 2 weeks, suggesting that whatever is responsible for these returns is actively targeting more animals. Of particular concern is that the original pets in these cases have never been recovered, and extensive searches have found no trace of their remains or whereabouts. You must understand that the animal that returns to your home is not your pet. Whatever process is responsible for these incidents, it does not return the animals to you. It returns something else wearing their appearance. Attempting to reclaim your normal relationship with these animals will only escalate the danger to your family. Do not be deceived by familiar appearance or seemingly normal behaviors. Trust your instincts if something feels wrong, and prioritize your safety above emotional attachment to what you believe is your returned pet. The animals you loved are not coming home. This broadcast will repeat every hour on this frequency until further notice. Emergency contact information and evacuation assistance are available through the Emergency Coordination Center. Remember, if your pet returns after an extended absence, do not approach, do not allow it inside, and contact authorities immediately. The silence of a house without your pet is difficult, but it is infinitely preferable to sharing your home with something that only appears to be the animal you once knew.